Hello. So you'd like to take your craft works and turn them into a business, create some income. That is a marvelous goal. It's what you're working for. And so I'd like to talk to you about some of the things that I'm doing to also turn my craft projects into a business and what I plan to do to sell some of my things. And, maybe some of these things will help you as well. So one of the things that I believe you're going to need to start with is look at how marketable is what you're making. So right now, and this is March of 2022, the top projects or items that people are making and using for their business is jewelry making and card making and remodeling furniture. So these are the items that not only people are creating, but that people are buying. So how do you get yourself out there? Well, the first thing you're going to need to do is think about what is your business plan? What are your goals? Maybe you simply want to make enough money to pay for your supplies and just keep your hobby going. And there's nothing wrong with that. But maybe you'd like to move away from your day job and make this your full-time work. Both are fine, but obviously there's going to be a little different approach to both. So let's look at turning your business into something that can generate income, and then you're going to need to scale that to whatever level of income that you want. So one of the first things that I suggest is that you look into things like the IRS and your state and local taxes, because as you're selling products, you're going to need to be collecting taxes in some instances, or in some instances, the taxes will be taken care of for you. When you do try to apply to get these tax ID numbers from the different entities, federal, state, local, then you're going to be given a tax ID number, and then you can begin to purchase things at wholesale. But maybe you don't want to go that far. I am not a lawyer. I am not an accountant. And so I would recommend that you seek the advice of these professionals. And it can sound daunting, but it really doesn't have to be expensive. And it may simply be one conversation where they can give you advice. And then a lot of these things you can just do online. So it's really, again, it's up to you, but get the professional advice of people that can look at your business plan, look at your goals, and then be able to say, this is what you need to do. Or since you're going to be making about this much a year, then, you only need to take it this far. Get the advice of a professional. The peace of mind is worth it. I realize that it's not free to get this advice, but honestly, it's not as expensive as maybe you're thinking. Then you want to look at, is what I'm making something that I want to make full time and a lot of it? So if, for instance, you're into crocheting and knitting, you have to think about how long does it take for you to produce the finished product? And is that something that you're willing to replicate again and again? Maybe you're like me and into mixed media and watercolor. Those are the things that I'm doing. And I have to think about, am I going to continue to make these products by hand? Or am I going to take some of the better pieces and have prints made? All of these things are going to be a part of your overall business plan. How you're going to get your supplies, how you're going to replicate what you're making. I would suggest that you limit yourself to what you're making and the degree of how many, how fast. Start small. And then you can always scale up. One businesswoman, a very successful businesswoman, said, if you can turn something and make $1, then it can be scaled up to whatever level you want to make. So how do you know if you can make $1? Some of the things that I suggest, and they're totally free, is just if you have a Facebook account or an Instagram account, go ahead and produce the product that you enjoy making, take a good picture of it, and describe it briefly, and just see what the reaction is. I did that with one of my watercolors, just posted it on regular Facebook. I didn't talk about anything about it being for sale, how I made it, what it was. It was just a watercolor. And I got private messages with people that wanted to buy it. And that's totally legal within the terms of services of Facebook. I did not advertise it as for sale. I didn't even say if you're interested in buying, nothing like that. I just put it up there and just got people's reactions. And that's what I recommend you do. And then talk to friends and family that may have seen it and get their honest response. Is this really something that you would consider buying? If it is something you would consider buying, what would you be willing to pay? For instance, if you're making knitted hats, you're not only competing with people that make knitted hats in their homes, but you're competing with every company that puts out knitted hats. Look at what the pricing is. Look at what you're willing to do the work for. And once you figure out how long it takes you, is that something you can replicate again and again? All of these things are things to take into consideration. Another thing you want to look at when you're kind of doing this market research is what other products can I maybe make that would be customized? So if someone would say, well, I really love your hat, but can you do it in the Michigan State colors? Or can you do it in my child's high school colors? These are the kinds of things that you want to be able to answer, and not that you have to give them an answer right on the spot, but you can just say, I need to look at that yarn, or I need to look at those colors, but I'd be happy to get back with you. And then do follow up. So look at what other people are selling in that market and look at what people can just go out and buy. Google the product, put handmade knitted hat, take a look at what's out there. Take a look at what other people are creating, how they're creating it. You can look at the different platforms that they're on, and you can just see, is this something that I can do? When it comes to marketing, another thing I strongly recommend is get into Facebook groups that are of like projects that you do. I am in a couple Facebook groups, and sometimes the reaction I get from those people is quite a bit different than the reaction that I get just from my general Facebook feed. But many times you can get from other people that are working in the same materials that you're using, that are producing the same type of a product, and they can just, share with you, I love what you did, but do you realize that that yarn is discontinued? Or I love what you did, but do you realize that those colors are not color fast? Get other reactions from people, and that will help you to hone in on what it is that you're going to be making. As you start researching this, there's going to be scams that come on into your feed, that come on to your advertising. Be very cautious, be very careful. If you decide that you're going to take a class, online class or otherwise, on how to run a homemade business, a business of things that you're going to be creating at home, some of these classes are very helpful. Some of them are just scams. So please look carefully, get reviews, look for guarantees. If you're going to be taking a class, there should be a 30-day, no questions asked, and where you can just say, this wasn't what I thought it was, this wasn't what I was looking for. But before you start throwing money at these types of classes on how to run a home-based business with your crafts, make sure that it's reputable, that other people have taken this class and enjoyed it. It really can save you a lot of time and a lot of money. So be careful when it comes to that type of thing. So what are some of the selling platforms? Well, to get started quickly, easily, inexpensively are things like Etsy or Amazon Handmade. Sure, you're going to pay a little bit of a listing fee, but it's very reasonable. And I'm sure it's something that would be doable for you. And then you can just put it out, and for a very little bit of money, you have a website that is known stable. It's got a cash register already built in. Yes, you're going to pay a commission on the things that you sell, but you can price accordingly as everyone else on the platform has. Always consider shipping, not only the cost of shipping, but the cost of shipping in what area. If you're living in Europe, what is it going to cost to ship to the United States and vice versa? So factor in those kinds of things as you're looking at putting your listing up on Etsy. But honestly, all that takes is taking a photograph or two of your item, being able to describe it in a brief, but in a complete way. What it's made of, what are some of the applications it can be used for, those kinds of things. And are you including shipping, or is that going to be extra? Think about what are going to be your return options. Those are the kinds of things, even on Etsy, that you want to be able to look at and just decide what's comfortable for you. You can think about creating a blog. Some people will tell you that in 2022, blogs are obsolete. They're not obsolete. Pinterest runs almost entirely on blogs, and there are a lot of very successful blogs. So what can you include in your blog? Well, you can include the items that you're making. You can include maybe tutorials or information about how you select yarns, or just whatever it is that you're making, and just talk about it. Talk about how to calculate the time on a project and how to calculate costs. These kinds of things are interesting, and don't worry about creating competition. You are unique, and the things that you make are unique. So blogging is just another way that you can inexpensively get your projects out there for the world to see. Now, if you want to turn this into a business, you're most likely going to need to be quite multifaceted. Are you willing to not only sell hats? Are you willing to teach how to make hats? Are you willing to teach in a venue that is related to what it is that you make? For me, that would be maybe an art supply store that sells the mixed media products that I use. Maybe it would be a yarn store or a quilting store that maybe would be willing to have you come in and set up classes. Sometimes these places will even offer a discount to your students. So this is something you can look at. What about running classes in your own home? There's no additional costs for something like that. And, maybe you have a dining room table or an area in your basement or wherever you do your work, and start out small. Just maybe one or two other ladies or gentlemen that want to learn the craft that you have in mind that you can teach, and that you feel like you can teach confidently. What about commission work? Are you willing to take whatever you make? In my instance, people like things like animal portraits, pet portraits, children portraits, portraits of their home. These are things that you have to decide, is that something you're interested in and something that you're up for? Maybe instead of doing that specific of a commission work, maybe you would be willing to simply customize. Maybe what you make is coffee mugs, and maybe it'll say something like, mom's not ready till the coffee's ready. But maybe you'd be willing to customize that to grandma's not ready till the coffee's ready, or Uncle Bob's not ready till the coffee's ready. You understand what I'm trying to say. Perhaps you're not reinventing a wheel, but you can simply customize what you've started and make it personalized for whoever is looking at buying it. Think about things like stationery. You can create a generic stationery, or you can create personalized wedding invitations or personalized graduation. Again, it's all going to depend on what your craft lends itself to, and is that a way that instead of doing commission work, which is just from the ground up, where you present a product and then you can customize it to whomever's making the purchase. So another way that artists can make money is doing things like selling patterns. Maybe you invent some patterns that other people would be interested in making. Maybe it's digital art. In my field, there are many people that create digital art of sketches that people can then follow a tutorial and complete. Again, this could fall under your teaching, where if people watch your YouTube video and they can follow what you're doing in a tutorial. But for an added digital cost, you can put your digital artwork right there on Etsy, and they can download that, and then they can get a jump start into what it is that they're learning to make. Another thing that you can think about is teaching completely online. YouTube is a wonderful platform that creators do tutorials and get many, many views. You know, one of the very top YouTube videos that has been logging the most viewer hours is how to drill a hole in a wall. Not complicated. Take your talent and turn it into a video, and it's a video that could be evergreen. People are going to need, most probably, what you use always. When is someone not going to want coffee cups? When is someone not going to want knitted hats? When is someone not going to need greeting cards, or even things like wrapping paper, however it is that you design? That might be something that you're willing to teach and teach others on YouTube. There are other platforms, for instance, like Skillshare, where you can apply and you can make more detailed, more comprehensive tutorials or times to teach whatever it is that you do. And there are many, many people that go to Skillshare. And Skillshare is going to be advertising and promoting your tutorials. So that's something that you may want to look at. So how else can you expand your business for making money? What about merchandise? Merchandise that you have made that represent your company, that represent what it is that you're building. You know, YouTube sells many of their shirts with simply the YouTube start button. And you can do the same thing. People that start following your videos, they're going to ask for merchandise. They'd love to have a mug or a t-shirt or something that represents your company. And again, these are not expensive things for you to get started, but they can add to your income. So let's think about, we're talking about selling your products. We're talking about making patterns or instructions about how you create it. That could be something on a blog. Also, you can sell things like ebooks. Maybe you can create an ebook, and that would be something that you can sell on Amazon. Maybe you want to offer it free, but then that can give people a taste, a beginner's look, and then the more advanced books are something that they would purchase. There's just so many avenues that you can use to try to build your business in a multifaceted way. So I hope some of these ideas gave you a little jump start into how you can start your business and how you can start selling your beautiful art. Thanks.